want to bring in my colleague, CTV News Chief Financial Correspondent Amanda Lang. We do have some changes to just quickly put up on the board, some Conservative gains so far in Atlantic Canada as these polls start to trickle in, and some Liberal losses at this point. Amanda, look, the economy became probably, if there's one thing underpinning that ballot box competition over what the question is it Trump or is it change? It's the economy, right?
That's right. And typically, of course, we know when people go to the polls, they're voting on their pocketbook, and that often works against the incumbent, especially after a period like the one we've seen. We saw high inflation. We saw the after effects of a global pandemic. So the vote for change was very powerful. And then into the mix, you get, well, now we feel threatened, and we need to defend ourselves against a trade war. And that, of course, was the wild card that we've been dealing with. Underneath it all, though, people still, at the end of the day, when they're checking off that ballot, they're thinking about their own situation, and there's so much uncertainty right now. So that it does come down to stewardship, I think. Who will manage our economy better?
Have you been surprised by the whiplash? I mean, there are days in the past couple of weeks where we've seen the size of Canada's GDP just wiped out on stock markets. And when, you know, if you're younger, you've got time to make up that money. Yeah. If you're a senior in this country who's worked their entire life preparing for the golden years, and to see that evaporate in mere moments, I mean, it's not easy to stomach.
It's been jarring in the extreme, and I think I said this to you, Omar, on your program, which is even on the days when it was up 5, 6, 7%, that's not a good day. That doesn't feel rational or normal or the way stocks should move. And it speaks to the level of uncertainty in the world. And we're starting to see this show up in the economy. Even if you waved a wand and it was all over today, we have damage done. And the damage will persist for our economy and elsewhere. And, you know, we're talking here in Atlantic Canada about St. John, the hardest hit place for tariffs in the country.
96% of their exports go to the U.S.
Go to the U.S. And, of course, a very integrated economy, too. They come back as well in the form of sort of refined products. So all of this is going to be in the mix, but it's really interesting to watch at the end of the day. How do people feel about what they're voting on, and how regional will that be at the end? And
as far as what the parties are pitching, what stands out to you in that regard?
So it was interesting to see, and we'll talk mostly about Liberal PC because that's, you know, who's going to likely form the government here. And both of them were really making the case for, we'll get you through this, but such different approaches. Liberals, big spending, really focused on a trade war, throwing money at a problem, not so much worried about the fiscal balance. And the Conservatives taking that same message that they've had all along, which is we want to downsize government, we want to reduce your taxes. So that the kind of undertone was, yeah, sure, there's a trade war, but remember, we're the guys that are going to deliver something different here. And we'll see whether that works in terms of the messaging and how it gets read in the end by what people actually absorbed. You know, economists, the balance is out in terms of which one will succeed, because in both platforms there was a lot of unknown quantities. Where does the revenue come from? Where do the cuts come? We don't really know any of those things. But voters actually were hearing more, and maybe this is intentional, of course, more of the subtext than the actual details.
Magic math all over.
Exactly.
And we'll see what they choose. But I've got to thank you, by the way. Past 2 weeks have been, it's been a seesaw, but you've been our voice of calm and our voice of reason in a very strange and different environment. So, Amanda, we'll check in with you in just a bit later.